Up and running. That's going too. So, all right, you ready?
Yes.
Or not? Sure.
Yep, I'm good to go,
Okay.
brother.
Cool. All right, here we go. What's up, everybody, and welcome to Bump and Run. I'm Pete Palisano, joined as always by my good friend, the man, Scott Bracey. What is going on, dude?
Peter, what's up, bud? And we have about 3 weeks? You go back to school? 4 weeks?
I know. Don't even talk. We don't talk about that.
Dude, it goes so fast. You got like 6 weeks of like happiness, and then all of a sudden it's like the nervousness, the anxiety comes back.
The hatred, the anger. I think those are the words you're looking for.
Misery likes company. I work all year long, so it's like.
Well, that's what I say. I'm never one to complain. I complain to my teacher friends, and I'll complain like in my head. But yeah, I mean, it's no different than anybody else who goes on vacation. As your vacation comes to an end, starts to draw to an end, you already start thinking about it. Even if you're still on that vacation, you're like, "Fuck, I don't want to leave. Like, I don't want to go home. I don't want to go back to work." Mine just happens to be 2 months and 2 weeks. That's all. That's it's a little different. But that's why I kind of keep that shit to myself. It's like, dude, nobody wants to hear it from a guy who's had off for 2 months.
The Wednesday after Labor Day you go back or
something like that. Or no, I think it's the day after. I don't even know. I don't know. I don't think about it.
Who cares? Just
it's not real. It's not real, at least for one more week. Doesn't actually happen. I tell people have been asking me like, hey, what's going on? Are you? And I'm like, I don't even check my email until at least the earliest August 15th. So I'm still 5 days away from that. But we do have football going on. There's some games tonight as we're recording this on Thursday the 10th. There are some football games tonight and then going on all weekend. So, of course, because we're degenerates, we love football more than anything, maybe even our own bodies. That sounded a little weird, not how I meant. I was thinking of our hips, not of any other body parts. But anyway, so that's what we're going to be talking about. Of course, just we got some news items that came up this week that I'll hit you with, and then we will be doing our AFC West breakdown, which should be absolutely fascinating because I know as much as you love to break my chops when there's Jets news or we're talking about the Jets, we'll be delving into the Denver Broncos today and their slim to none chances of winning their chances of winning their division and moving on in the playoffs. So
I think you had it right the first time.
So it'll be interesting getting into that. And of course, as we draw down this episode later this afternoon, everybody's favorite, Scotty Trivia time. So jam-packed with lots of stuff. Let's start off with this. We'll start off outside of football. One of the big stories that came out, I think it was either earlier today or late yesterday, there's a new book with Phil Mickelson. I think this is like the third book on his story. And according to this book, over the last, 10 or 15 years, let me see if I can get any details about this. Claims like, somewhere in the neighborhood of like $1 billion that Phil Mickelson has gambled in the last 10 to 20 years, we'll say. Now, just right off the bat, when you hear that, now that's combined. That's just bet. It doesn't mean he won or lost
right.
$1 billion. It's
wagered.
That's how much has been wagered, which it's a lot. I mean, that's 1,000 million.
Yeah.
Even if it's half right, that's 500 million. So, but my question to you is, does it surprise? Do you think it's real? Do you think it's true? Or do you think it's possible? I mean, $1 billion is a lot, even over 10 years. Do you think it's possible, number one? And number two, does it shock you?
I don't think the number's right, but I do think it's a high number regardless. It doesn't shock me because we've heard forever that he's a big gambler. He gambles like during a match, part of his caddy with a guy next to him.
Part of the story that was written is that in the book it says he wanted to place a bet on the Ryder Cup while he was in the Ryder Cup. Like he wanted to place a bet that they would win or
all right, Pete Rose.
Whatever. So exactly right, Iowa State, whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm kind of with you. I don't know if the 1 billion is accurate. It sounds a bit much, but. Does it shock me? No, and it doesn't shock me for this reason too. I think Phil Mickelson has probably been raking in somewhere between 30 and 50 million a year for the last 15 to 20 years.
Yeah.
So when you think about how much money he's been making, how much of that is like gambling, like he's betting on sports, and how much of it is like 100,000 here, 100,000 there? You've seen when they do the match, they make these wild bets, like closest to the pin or stuff like that. 50, 100,000 to these guys is not like outrageous. So I don't think it's that crazy that it's a shit ton of money. I mean, we've heard this from him, but one of the coolest things about Phil that we like so much is that he's kind of honest and open, or it's out there, and he's usually the one telling us about like what he's thinking, what he's doing, what he's feeling. It's kind of what we've liked about him the most. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Tiger Woods and most of these guys, they're kind of secretive, and you don't really have like a feel for what's going on in their head. That's not the problem with Phil. And I think that while it can be destructive at times, I think that's kind of what most of us who like him, or if you enjoy watching him, even if you don't like him, it's why. It's that openness and the brutal honesty sometimes.
Either way, the number is huge, and you never hear any marital problems like anything.
None. Zero.
It's like,
in fact, if anything, we know that he has actually skipped chances to win a U.S. Open.
Yeah.
This was maybe going back 5 or 6 years, I want to say. I feel like it was something for his daughter, or maybe it was the birth of one of his kids.
Graduation.
It might have been a graduation.
Yeah.
Might have been a graduation.
Yeah.
I forget what it was, but he actually skipped the U.S. Open, which is the only major that he hasn't, brought home now. I mean, he's like this family man, but listen, if you have a lot of discretionary cash, who's to say what you can and can't do with it, So,
man.
But that's serious. Like I said, if it's just half right, it's a lot. Like
it's a lot of money. Jesus Christ.
Story number 2 outside of football. Ex-ESPN host Rachel Nichols to join Richard Sherman along with Skip Bayless on Undisputed, Fox Sports show. Your thoughts on that?
Sorry, I just got an alert on Red Zone channel. I'm trying to see what the hell's going on. I haven't listened to Skip Bayless in 12 years. Richard Sherman's a loudmouth. Perfect for that show. Nothing against him personally. And Rachel Nichols, I thought she was gone and put into abyss a while back. It's weird that she's back with the company after everything with Maria Taylor, and I think it was Michelle Beadle and all that stuff. I got no interest, dude.
Yeah, it feels like the whole thing feels like the ultimate, like we have to check certain boxes. We got like the black player, the female former, announcer from ESPN, and then the idiot Skip Bayless. Like they have so many, like they're just checking boxes. I'm with you. Richard Sherman to me seems like the only guy in the whole show that's even remotely interesting. Very bright guy, but oftentimes he almost predominantly comes from a player's perspective. And as we've talked about on this show, what we try to do is come from a fan's perspective. What's best for fans? Because we're the ones. And I said this 1,000 times, owners don't pay players, fans pay players. So what I always look at is what's best for the fan, and that's not what players are thinking. Players are thinking what's best for players. And so those two things are not always the same. Rachel Nichols, I could care less. Like I never cared about her, don't care about her now. Again, it just seems like a quota hire, so
I also heard, like, I think this was like they had trouble getting people to work with Skip.
They did.
So
in fact, that once a week they got Lil Wayne to come on because
I thought I read that somewhere. Yeah,
that's true. That's a true story. Lil Wayne is coming on once a week, I think, to host. So
like a little Mad Dog Russo with Stephen A.
Yeah, maybe, but at least Mad Dog Russo. Mad Dog Russo, just the reason he's Mad Dog is because he yells and gets hyper emotional, not because he has some of the dumbest takes in the history of sports.
Right.
Skip Bayless, just in the last year, has said some of the dumbest things. I mean, think of that. I don't even think this is the most recent one, but I'm thinking of the Buffalo-Cincinnati game when Damar Hamlin got hurt. Skip Bayless tweeted while he was like still pretty much being carted off the field, hey, scrape him. He didn't say these words, but basically was saying is scrape him off to the side and get this game going. You can't just skip a game.
We got playoff implications on the line.
Yeah, he did say that. So
that's what got Shannon Sharp all fired up, and I think that was the start of the end. I think Shannon was looking for a way to get out of that after that point because he's like, dude, what is going on with this guy? Like,
and he was also making significantly less money than Skip Bayless.
And there's also
$6 million a year with his new contract.
And there's a difference of being like a showman on a show and like absolute like rude and like
out
of your mind. So
absolutely. So I thought that was at least somewhat interesting. Another story out of Jets camp. Listen, this is the one thing that you and I, since Aaron Rodgers has become a Jet, it all looks good. It all sounds good. He's going to the Knicks games, going to the Met, going to this. Everybody's happy, big smiles. Hey, maybe I'll play 3 or 4 years. One practice, what do they call it? Dual practice. They were with Carolina yesterday, and I think they are today too. But this happened yesterday.
I think today got scratched because bad weather down there. So.
Okay. Well, this happened yesterday, and I guess during team like 11-on-11, the offensive line was having some struggles keeping the Carolina Panthers off of Aaron Rodgers' back, and he was having to get rid of the ball quick. They did a 2-minute drill, 3 and out real quick. Apparently, who's the kid from Alabama that's quarterbacking for Carolina?
Bryce Young.
Apparently, he moved the ball up and down the field against the Jets defense. So Aaron Rodgers didn't necessarily make a big deal of it, but in the post-practice press conference, he did mention it. And this is exactly what you and I have been talking about. And my biggest fear is, how good is this offensive line going to be? And if it's not, how soon before Aaron Rodgers is unhappy? And we're already getting just a little taste of what that's going to be like. And let me say this. One segment during one practice means nothing. The day we started doing our divisional breakdowns, I said to you, be careful what you see and hear, because defenses are always way ahead of offenses in camp and in the preseason.
Yeah.
Because there's just way more coordination that goes on offense. Whereas on defense, you can act a lot more as an individual and just go and attack. If you're just moving and attacking, you're more often than not right. Whereas in offense, it's just not like that. It just takes more time offensively. So I heard other reports that Mekhi Becton looked great. So I don't know. It's not even that. It's the idea of, are we already starting to see the Aaron Rodgers, I don't need this shit, starting to brew? Just the beginnings of it.
So I saw something on Twitter before where everything's on the table for Vera Tucker to move outside, inside. So I don't know if that's a reflection on Dwayne Brown or Becton, or they just want to keep options open because, like you said, it was not pretty yesterday. But I don't know. August 10th, I don't want to be ready to shuffle my offensive line around yet.
It's a problem. And here's the bigger problem with what you just said. I don't disagree with you, and I think it's an option. The problem is, even Aaron Rodgers was saying, our interior alignment are solid. So when you go Laken Tomlinson, who's healthy, the new kid, Tipman, I think his name is, from Wisconsin at center, who had an amazing, first preseason game. He did fantastic. And then Vera Tucker at the other guard. It's like you, across from guard, center, and guard, you're solid as a rock. So you really want to start messing with that. Dwayne Brown hasn't even seen the field yet because he's been on the PUP list, physically unable to perform list.
Not good.
Mekhi Becton, he looked good while he was in the game, but he got a little dinged up, and it's like, this was my one concern. Remember how many times have we said it? What is Aaron Rodgers going to be like if he gets too much of a pass rush, if they lose 2 or 3 games in a row? And again, he was actually trying to calm things down. Like, hey, listen, there's moving parts. We're still trying to figure out who's going to go where. But it was a little funky. But I think we'll be okay. That's the only thing I'm concerned about, is that once he starts feeling the way he can feel sometimes, what happens then? What happens? Then the honeymoon is over, and then who knows?
Yeah. Isn't it funny too with linemen? When you get to college, you very, very rarely see a true freshman play. They hit the nutrition hard, the weight room hard, and then sophomore year, redshirt freshman, they hit the ground running. And then a lot of them will start right away in the NFL. Like you're 22, 23, your body's and you're right into the goddamn
I think so much of it has to do with the current CBA and the way they structure, especially those first round picks. You have you have basically 4 years to play these guys and have them on the cheap before you have to give them a big contract. I mean, even Mekhi Becton, who may or may not be a bust, I'm just not sure yet. When he plays well. It's just, play. He's at the end of that area. So, let's say he has a great year this year. Let's say he is healthy and has a great year. Are you ready to give, 16, 17 million to Mekhi Becton as your starting right or left?
I would be very nervous.
So tough. Yeah, it's so tough. So, anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. I just thought it was interesting in the sense of, this is the one concern. It's nice to have Aaron Rodgers. He's great. But, boy, if he even gets the slightest bit unhappy, everybody starts getting nervous and walking on eggshells.
Do you want to hit Hard Knocks real quick while we're on the Jets? Anything?
I didn't watch the first episode.
Oh, my God. Thursday afternoon, your team?
I know. I tried.
What is the matter with you?
Without incriminating myself here, the where I watch, it's not available yet. So I haven't been able to see the first episode. I know. I'm shocked.
I got to get going.
I was surprised, too. I was surprised I couldn't. I tried to watch it this morning. I couldn't get it.
This is this needs to be fixed.
It will be. I'm certain of that. I'll get it.
Holy Christ! All right.
Next quick story I have here for you. Apparently, Eric Bieniemy,
the enemy,
your favorite. Things are already off to a rocky start with the Washington.
Raise your hand if you're shocked. Anybody?
Not these two guys, right?
No, sir.
The story coming out of Washington is a little too abrasive, especially with the starters. This is not coming from backups or rookies or something like that. This is coming from veteran starters that he's just abusive with the way he's talking to them. Who the hell's the head coach there?
That'd be Mr. Ron Rivera.
Ron Rivera has come out backing him, saying, hey, maybe we need a little bit of this. He didn't word it very well the first time. He kind of fixed it up a little the second time.
Stumbled all over himself. Yeah,
it was not the best of events I ever heard. But yeah, I mean, the questions that we had remain from when he was with Kansas City. What did he do? How much was he involved? And even if you were, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and some of the other characters that they've had there can cover up for a lot of your deficiencies. Now, everybody has said that they love him. They love his personality, blah, blah, blah. But nobody ever said anything about him as a coach. He has had interviews, but hasn't gotten the job. And I just wonder if we're starting to see why.
Have you watched that Quarterback on Netflix yet?
I still haven't, no.
All right, so I won't give too much away. However, I will say this. When they do the Chiefs with Mahomes, there's a lot more Matt Nagy around than Eric Bieniemy.
Oh, really? What is some of that from last year?
It's the whole last year's recap.
Oh, last year. Oh, okay. I got you.
Yeah, it's Mariota, Cousins, and Mahomes. And thank God they got Mahomes because, Mariota's whole fizzle out, disappearing act, the show would have been – they might not even went through it if they had, let's say, Russell Wilson instead of Mahomes.
Right.
So –
yeah, I mean, we'll see. So now you're working with a defensive head coach and Sam Howell as your quarterback. We'll see how it goes, but not off to a great start for the enemy, Eric Bieniemy, at the Washington Commanders so far.
No.
Fascinating. All right, one more story from me, and that is just a quick one that it looks like Joe Burrow might be out a little bit longer than the original 2 to 4 weeks. Nervous now?
I was nervous last week when we made the prediction. I have him third in the division. I think this is not great, dude.
I feel like we're starting to run into I don't know if maybe it's a little.
I should ask you, are you nervous now?
Well, yeah, because you want to at least, I would say, have a week and change, 10 days under your belt before the season starts. And here's why more than anything with Cincinnati. If this was I don't know, somewhere in the NFC. Let's say they were in the NFC instead. If you go 500 for your first 4 games, it's it's okay. Still got plenty of season to go. We'll be okay. If Cincinnati gets off to a slow start, that freaking conference is so good.
I agree.
It could be the difference between a home playoff game or not. or making the playoffs or not. Your own division is hard as shit. So it is starting to make me a little concerned. Again, obviously it's more serious than we originally thought, but maybe it's significantly more serious, and they were kind of not letting us know how serious it was for a while. But it would bother me. It would bother me and make me a little nervous if he's not in camp with at least a week to go before the season. I don't care if he plays in any preseason games, but I would like to think that he's in camp with at least 10 days to go before season starts, like practice in full. If not, then I'd be nervous.
Yeah.
Then you got a real concern on your hands there. That's it for me with breaking news, my man.
AFC West.
AFC West.
A division that's close to home for me.
Not geographically, close to your heart.
Yeah, whatever you say. Kansas City Chiefs, last year's division champ, AFC champ, and Super Bowl champ. They lost a couple of wide receivers, and Mecole Hardman, who is now a New York Jet, and the Juju Smith-Schuster went up to the New England Patriots. Defensive end Frank Clark, and Michigan man, is now a Bronco. Not a big draft. They never really do have a really big draft. They kind of just fill pieces. Their organization's fantastic like that.
They're always picking basically the beginning of the second round.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, best combo in the league. Not even close at this point.
No question.
Question for you. How long can Kelsey keep going at this rate?
Yeah. I don't know. He's been as productive as ever, so I don't really see like him sliding off. But how old is it? Do you know how old he is?
33 or 34.
I mean, yeah. Maybe like 2 more full seasons, 3 more seasons. I would think by the 3rd season you're going to see like a relatively significant drop off. But what's interesting, you leading into that, was I was just going to say, I don't know that it matters. I think it's
disagree.
Nice. Huh?
I disagree. I think he's a really big part of that team.
Oh, I think he's a really big part of that team, but I think all that matters. I think this is basically the second coming of Belichick and Brady. I think as long as Andy Reid is coaching and Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback,
it's fair.
You can move Tyreek Hill and still win a Super Bowl. And I think they could move on from Travis Kelce. Okay, so
slow down.
You have to ask yourself the question and try to be as honest as you can. I think Travis Kelce's great, and maybe he's the best receiving tight end in the history of sport. I don't know. It's an argument. There's a lot of other really great ones, so I'm not up for that debate right now. But he's up there, okay? But how much of that, you have to ask yourself, how much of that is Patrick Mahomes? If Travis Kelce was on the Minnesota Vikings right now with Kirk Cousins, who is a above-average quarterback, okay, top half of the league, is he considered one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time? I don't have an answer for that. My guess is probably no. So then that's why I go back to saying I don't know how much it matters. I think they could probably fill that with somebody else, draft somebody else. Andy Reid's drafting ability, these guys' drafting ability is fantastic. So I don't think it matters. I think what matters, I'd rather have them. I mean, that the amount of time that they've had together, their work together, they don't even have to practice together, I don't think anymore. So that, rebuilding that with someone else would be tough. But I just think Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes separately and then together are just that much better than everybody else, and it wouldn't make a difference. I mean, it wouldn't make much of a difference. They would, basically what I'm saying, they would adjust. They would adjust just like they adjusted without Tyreek Hill. It wouldn't look the same. It wouldn't feel the same. But I think the results would be very, very similar.
Well, you lead me to another point. How long do you think Andy Reid wants to go for?
That's a better question. And then that's a tough one. How old is he? Early 70s, 72?
I think he's late 60s. Let me check. Hold the phone.
Andy Reid comes across to me as a low-stress coach. I don't know that he actually is.
I agree with that.
He comes across as a low-stress coach, so I wouldn't be surprised if he got
65.
Yeah, I mean that's almost. I mean he's definitely overweight and he's not healthy enough. But I see no reason why you wouldn't get another 5 years out of Andy.
Yeah, I was going to say at least 3 to 4, definitely.
Yeah, I don't see why you wouldn't.
But another thing too, Mahomes gets banged up a lot now too. Like he's always limping around, something with legs, and that gets a little tricky too. I mean, he's a scrambler, he's not a runner, but like he gets like ankles caught up, his knee sprained. He got his knee sprained on a quarterback sneak one year. Like
I know.
He's tough. He plays through it, but like you get older, man. As we know, things don't come back as easily.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this then. You slow down, you can't move as much. Are you concerned about Patrick Mahomes just being a pocket quarterback?
I wouldn't say I'm concerned. I just think it's in your brain right now, when you think of Patrick Mahomes, he's running around doing crazy shit.
It's
right.
There's less of the overall threat. Yeah, you lose the threat of the run, but he's such a good passer.
When he's in the pocket, he's throwing to Kelsey. So there's like two combination things there for me. It's like
that's true. But as for now, both are still healthy. Both are still young enough and very productive. Andy Reid is still there, so it is what it is.
Their schedule's very tough, as you can imagine, at least on the paper. Week 1 opening night, Thursday, home against the Lions. Week 2 at Jacksonville. Week 4 at the Jets. Week 5 at the Vikings. Then a little bit of a lull. Week 11, Philly home. Week 14, Buffalo home. Week 17, Cincy at home. And then week 18 at the Chargers, which could be a huge game, at least for the
17
Chargers.
And 18 is Cincinnati and the Chargers.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. What a way to end the season.
I know.
We've said that with a few of these AFC teams.
I know. They did that. Right now on paper, the schedule, like they did a hell of a job.
I mean, if things go
Ravens, Steelers, Chiefs, Chargers, Eagles, Cowboys. Jesus Christ.
Bengals. Yeah. Now, we're assuming that everything goes according to Hoyle, like according to how it's supposed to go. But if it does, which I suspect with most of those teams it will.
It's going to be close. Yeah, it's probably more yes than no.
Those last few weeks are going to be unbelievable. It's going to be like the playoffs before the playoffs. It really is.
Yeah.
So,
one
more thing about Kansas City that we're still waiting on. Is it Chris Jones?
Yes, DT.
Yeah,
Chris
he's
Jones.
still holding out.
It's
huge.
Yeah.
It's huge because that defense, for the length of Andy Reid's term there, they focus on offense. He's an offensive guy. It's worked for him. So what are you to say? But the reason it's worked for him is because they've always at least had 1-2 guys, defensive linemen, and then a defensive back or something like that were studs that really covered for a lot of the other shit. I mean, plus they put so many points on the board, but especially when it comes to the playoffs, man, if they can't find a way to get this Christian, I suspect they will. But if they don't, it's no different than what we were saying before, like with Cincinnati. You don't want to get off to a bad start. You don't want to have to start chasing the Chargers. You don't want to have to start chasing the Bills and the Bengals in the playoff race. Like, you don't want to start 2-3 games behind those teams. Not that Chris Jones is going to cost them 2 or 3 games, but you know what I'm saying? Like, we've seen that defense when they're missing a couple pieces look bad.
Well, already without Frank Clark, so now you got to replace another guy that's been on that team for a long time.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. And what historically speaking, what we've seen is the defense gets off to a bad start, and then Spagnuolo works his magic and figures out what these guys can and can't do. And by the end of the season, they're usually at least a competent defense.
Yeah.
But they start off a little rough. Well, now if you're missing Chris Jones, boy, it looks just way different. And again, you just don't want to fall behind. Even if you want to throw the Jets in there, which I'm not ready to do that, but you don't want to fall behind. You don't want to be behind 5, 6, 7 teams trying to leapfrog, 1 or 2, no problem. 5, 6, 7 teams that are good teams, that's tough, man. It's like the leaderboard at a golf tournament. You know what I'm saying? Like, you may be only 3 strokes back, but if there's 10 guys between you and the leader, you ain't catching them because all those guys aren't falling. You're not beating all of them. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you don't want to fall too far behind that many teams. So that's the only thing that makes me nervous at Chris Jones' contract.
I hear you, buddy. The Los Angeles Chargers. No
Is
major
it their year?
No major offseason moves. No, probably not. They got to stay healthy, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But then last year they lost Mike Williams and Keenan Allen for a lot of the stretch. And Austin Eckler's a good back, but these running backs aren't getting paid. Obviously, we've talked about that.
Yep.
Staley's got to be smarter. The guy, they believe in him for a reason. Sean Payton was out there. They stuck with Staley. We have a problem with this guy's in-game management with the 4th and 2s on their own 35-yard line early in the game. It's just the analytics. He is fully engaged. They're fully engaged as an organization. As you open when I said Chargers, they always seem to fall short of expectations. That seems to be going back 20 years at this point. So,
but at least since Herbert's sophomore year, the expectations have been up here. And the results have definitely not met.
Well, how many years with Phillip Rivers, too? They just always feel like they've fallen short, man. It's crazy.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it'll be really interesting. And then the question also becomes like, because I love Justin Herbert. I think he's fantastic. But
yeah,
there's just, there's guys who win and there's guys who don't. And are you capable of overcoming your coaching? It'll be maybe the most interesting thing will be, is Staley willing to give up total play control to Kellen Moore? Or does the organization continue with some of the analytical stuff and force feed that onto Kellen Moore and say, hey, in these situations...
isn't Staley a defensive guy?
He is, but listen, I mean, he's the head coach. So,
no, I know that, but I wasn't criticizing his play calling per se. I was his decision-making.
Well, but that's what I'm talking about.
That's the problem.
To go for it on 4th down, that's not a coordinator's call. That's a head coach's call.
No, I know that.
So, and sometimes even if you, in situations, you may not, as a head coach, you may not call the play per se, but you'll say what you want. So I was the opposite. I was an offensive coach. And I would say from time to time, hey, man, I want you, get a blitz in here. I want to get some pressure on him. That might not be what the coordinator wanted to do, but he isn't going to fucking say no because that's what I want. You know what I'm saying? I can remember a specific game where I made a switch at corner, and
Roth?
Literally, I don't want to talk about it. I don't remember who it was. No, it wasn't. It was Eddie. And I made the switch, and the next play they scored a touchdown, going right into halftime, and I'm like, you idiot. And I remember our defense coordinator just looking at me like, bro, why did you do that? Like, why did you make me do that? That's the way it goes. And he had to listen, and I have to eat it. My point just being, yes, Kellen Moore. And I don't know how great he is. Are we really just so sold that Kellen Moore is just great? I don't know that. I don't know that. Okay. But the question here is, are you going to let this guy do his job, or are you going to have your finger on certain buttons?
Right.
So we'll see with that. We'll see. And some of those buttons are exactly what you and I are talking about. He often and too often pushes the wrong damn button.
In the
it's
draft,
not the play call per se. It's the decision making.
Yeah, and it happens way too often for our liking. We every other weekend we've been talking about it for 2 years.
Every other would have been okay. It was every goddamn week.
Yeah.
And in crucial spots, I mean,
I know.
The one that they talk about all the time is like they're, it's 4th and 2 on their own 21-yard line, and they went for it. And it's like, you're an idiot. Come on, that's stupid. A computer doesn't understand situation. A computer doesn't understand emotion. A computer and data doesn't understand momentum. And that's why it's just bad decision making. And a computer and data isn't going to tell you how your fans are going to react and how the media is going to react. So. And yes, that plays a part in your decision making. Yes.
They added Quentin Johnson, wide receiver TCU in the draft. He's going to eventually replace.
So far.
He's a fantastic. He's going to replace Keenan Allen in a year or two. He's a little long in the tooth at this point. You have anything else to add before I go on the schedule?
No. Do they have somebody holding out? Do they have Is that not them, or is that
Bosa out, or is Bosa out, or the other?
But I don't know if it's the Bosa for San Fran, or is it the Bosa for?
I think it's a San Fran. We should do more research.
Yeah. My bad.
Their schedule: Week 1, Dolphins home. Week 6 at Cowboys home. Week 7 at Arrowhead. Week 9 at the Jets. I can't believe I'm putting the Jets in a lot of these fucking. Week 12, Ravens home. Week 16, Bills home, and Week 17 at the Broncos. If the Broncos have a pulse this year, that could be a really tricky game. Fucking freezing cold out there. Week 17. I'm hoping. I'm praying. I always like beating the Chargers, but we'll see.
Absolutely. Some of those games are really interesting. A number of them are at home, which is big. Yeah, it all comes down to me. I won't know what to think of them until after Thanksgiving, because that's when the pressure really starts to mount on these teams on who you are and what are you fighting for, and then that's where your head coach starts to play a bigger role. And I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know what to expect. Are you still there?
I'm here. You seem a little fuzzy.
Yeah, my screen went weird. That was weird.
All
right, I'm back.
Third place last year, the Vegas Raiders. Jimmy G, Jacoby Myers in. Tight end Austin Hooper in. Darren Waller out.
Yeah.
Running back contract issues with Josh Jacobs. He's not even there. He left.
He's still not in camp?
He's not in camp, which is typical Raiders.
Yeah.
Big question of the year. Can Jimmy G stay healthy? That is Biggie's.
It's a no until proven otherwise, right?
That is a fact, especially with the defenses that he's going to face in that division. He's going to get beat the fuck up.
I mean, the entire AFC as a whole, you know. And you're also talking about pressurized games week in and week out, just in the division alone.
Yeah,
but then
exactly.
outside, the AFC is so loaded. You're going to be in so many pressure cooker games, you know, that your season is on the line here. I think Jimmy G can handle the pressure just fine. It's just, you know, nobody can trust him as far as being healthy. I was shocked that Oakland did what they did. I still don't get it. I don't think that Jimmy G is an upgrade from Derek Carr.
I agree.
I just don't. And I like Jimmy G.
I thought Jimmy G could have been upgraded a lot of different places, but that wasn't one of them.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't know if they expected to get somebody else to be able to sign somebody else, but
did they think they could have got Brady, or was that not even an option?
I think that might have been something that was on their radar. I think there's also familiarity, right? Like Garoppolo played for what's his face in New England.
Yeah, McDaniels,
knows the system. He likes them. You know, they were ready at the time. They were ready to move on from Brady for Garoppolo. So I think he does like him, and there's lots to like. It's just, you know, I get hurt every single year, and sometimes like severely. So, you know, it's one thing to lose a guy for a couple games. That shit happens, but too often you lose him for the season. So it's just an odd organization right now. They're still in flux. They're still kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? They're still kind of like riding the new stadium, new location high. That only lasts so long, dude, especially in a place like Vegas. Like if you're going to suck year in, year out, there's just a couple other things to do in Vegas that people are going to stop coming to the game.
Yeah, but you know what? You'll get the opposing team to come visit, and that. But then your home field advantage is shot to shit.
You got no home. Yeah, exactly. So we'll see. But things don't look great. McDaniel on the hot seat? Not yet.
Yeah, I would say yeah.
Warm?
I would say warm. Yeah.
I would say it's warm coming into the season, and if it's a brutal season, it wouldn't shock me if he were to be let go.
I would agree.
Like if they do something like a 3-14 or 4-5, I don't think that's what they're going to do. But they're freaking Raiders.
They're more likely to go that way than the other way.
Oh, no doubt. Plus, like we're just saying, let's say Jimmy G goes down week 6. Bro, they could lose 11 straight games.
Oh, it's going to be.
So, yeah. That's just a funky team. It just seems like they're always in flux. They're always in flux. They're still coming off the Gruden years. I'll give them a little bit of slack, but
I'd say I'd like to get Mike Mayock with a little truth serum. He left a cushy gig with the NFL Network to take on that disaster.
I agree totally. It would be fascinating. Try to get him on a podcast.
Oh, I'll call him. Week 2 at Bills. Week 3 Steelers home. Week 4 at Chargers. Week 8 at Lions. Week 9 Giants. And week 10 Giants and Jets come into Vegas back-to-back weeks.
Tell me which one of those games they win. Maybe at home against the Giants? Is that your biggest hope?
I would lean Giants.
That's no gimme. It's certainly not a gimme.
Definitely not a gimme. I don't know, bud, but the Giants are going to travel. I already know some buddies that want to go out there for that game. So week 11 at Dolphins and week 16 at Chiefs, dude, they might go fucking 5-12, man.
That's what I'm saying. Which one of those games they winning? They're not stopping the Dolphins.
Maybe Pitt at home week 3 before Pitt gets going. In a sloppy, like 18-14, some weird shit. Like,
I just don't trust him.
I don't either.
Yet.
No, I don't
Not
either.
Yet.
I don't either. All right. I put this on hold long enough. The Denver Broncos.
Here we go. First place.
2016.
Worst to first. Here we go.
Mike McGlinchey, tackle, and guard Ben Powers. They added some beef up front. McGlinchey's already hurt. Shocked me if you heard this one before. They've added running back Samarji Pirine to back up Javonte Williams, who might take a little bit slow start. I like the Pirine move. I think that's a really good addition there.
I do too.
Obviously, the big one is head coach Sean Payton. They are relying on him to fix Russ and actually get 11 guys on the field on a punt, which as talked about a couple weeks ago with the whole him making fun of Hackett. August 10th, they already lost 2 wide receivers. They lost Tim Patrick back-to-back years in camp this year to an Achilles. KJ Hamler, who we liked a lot coming out of Penn State. We thought the guy was electric. He's got a heart issue now, and he hasn't been on the field in 2 years either. I was killing this draft pick when they made it. They didn't pick till the 3rd round. They took Marvin Sims, I think, from Oklahoma. And now that looks like a great pick because they need some guys there now.
Yeah.
Defense is good.
Very good.
They got some guys at pass rusher that they've kind of stolen. They've gotten late. They might have this guy, Nick Bonito, they got from Oklahoma last year. They look like he's the real deal. A kid from Ohio State. I can't remember his name at the time, but he's looked like he's been really good at the rush end. Linebackers I don't love. The secondary is really good. Patrick Surtain's arguably one of the top 3 guys in the league, and that always helps when you have one of those guys on an island. You could do a lot more things.
Doubt. Makes your pass rush that much better.
I have no faith in this team until one of those things. Until I see it, I'll believe it. Russ seems to have lost some weight. I trust Payton that he's going to put him in good positions, but can he do anything with the good position that he's going to be put in? We'll see. I think they want to run first and then throw, which I also don't hate. But again, your running backs haven't been healthy either. So this is a lot of ifs I'm saying. So again, I try not to be a homer either on this show. I busted shot chops at Michigan, but even then, I'm always thinking they're going to go 6-6. I think Denver will be better than the Raiders, but I don't think there's going to be a playoff push this year at all. Schedule at week 3 at Dolphins, nice and hot. Week 5, Jets come in. That should be fun. We'll do the off-season stuff.
Absolutely.
And then week 6, they go at Arrowhead. Week 10 at Buffalo, which is a primetime game. And following weeks, Minnesota is a primetime game. That game's at home. And then at Chargers week 14. Then at Lions week 15, man. We both think Detroit's going to be pretty decent.
And it's at Detroit.
At Detroit, that's inside. They could be Goff could be cooking at that point. They get James.
They could be back. winning their division at that point.
Yeah, that could be trouble.
Solidify their division.
So, in order, I have them finishing. I just said
I just wanted to say.
Go ahead, please.
I agree with you that they're going to be improved. I just think Sean Payton, the Sean Payton effect. Would they win 4 games last year?
5
games last year. Come on, this guy's a significantly better coach. He's won with multiple types of quarterbacks. I don't love what happened last week, and he tried to walk back some of the statements he made about Hackett. I don't think it's going to matter at all, except for when they play the Jets. And that'll only matter if, the Jets are extra fired up. Maybe they put a couple extra hits on Russell Wilson, which you don't want. But other than that, it's not going to make a lick of difference. I just don't like it, and a lot of people don't like it. I got to think that Russell Wilson, the drop-off that we saw cannot be all him. As we've stated multiple times on this podcast, some of it was definitely him. I mean, some of these reads that he was missing were just atrocious high school reads that he was either missing the read or missing the guy. And it's like, bro, you wouldn't start your high school team if you were making throws like that. So Some of it's on him. But I think some of that is correctable. And I also think that he's bought into Sean Payton. How do you not, right? So maybe he's eating a little humble pie, and I think that helps because I do think the rest of his team is pretty goddamn good. I think the rest of his team
said that really for 2 years. They need a quarterback. So
I think by week 6, somewhere in that range, you'll have a pretty good idea if Russell Wilson is back, mostly back, or if what we saw last year was who he is now.
Yeah.
I think you'll know by week 6. First couple games is tough. the old saying is you make your biggest improvements between weeks 1 and weeks 2 because you don't really truly know who you are until week 1, until that first game happens. And then you can make some adjustments and see what's going on. I just think Sean Payton's smart enough to look back at those Seattle years and see what Russell Wilson was really good at and try to incorporate some of that stuff in. So I think they'll definitely be improved. Are they a playoff team? I think they're just under it. But I'll be honest with you. So this to me would be the opposite of the Raiders. I can't see them being like a 3, 4, 5 win team again. I could see them surprising on the upside. If Russell gets back to who he was and the rest of the team is, who we thought they were, I think this could be a 10 win team, even an 11 win team. 11-6, I don't think that's outrageous. So do I think that's what will happen? I don't know about that. I just think I'd be less surprised if I saw 11 wins than I would if I saw 5 wins.
I understand that. I hear that. Last year just beat the shit out of me.
It's tough, man. It's tough. You're talking to a Jets fan, so I understand.
Yeah,
I understand being cynical.
This is fair. This is fair. Fourth place, I got the Raiders. Third place, I got the Broncos. Second place, I got the Chargers. I took them first last year. Again, I'm done doing that stupid nonsense. At least until Reed and Mahomes are gone or Mahomes is old. And then first, I got the Chiefs.
Yeah, I have the same order as you do, and I think the only thing I'll add to it is that I really do think that Denver and the Chargers, because I have a lot of faith in Sean Payton and I have no faith in Staley, I think the two of them, right down to the last 2-3 weeks, might be fighting for a wild card playoff spot. So that'll be interesting because with the pressure on Staley, the pressure on Justin Herbert, they always have those injuries that come up. And Russell Wilson has been there. He has been there in leading teams to playoffs and Super Bowls. So that's I'm thinking those two teams right down to the end.
Yeah, that'll be fun. That'll be a nice change of pace. I'll tell you that much.
Absolutely.
The Big Ten, they did it. They pulled the trigger. As last week we were saying, oh, they're going to do it. They're not going to do it. They're going to do it. They're not. Like we said, an hour-to-hour change. Washington
and it continues
Huskies,
to this day.
Yeah. The Washington Huskies and the Oregon Ducks have now made the Big Ten a team of 18, a group of 18, I should say.
How many teams are in the SEC? Is it 18 also?
I think 16.
So Big Ten is even.
Is it 18?
I'm saying with Texas and Oklahoma. I mean with Texas and Oklahoma.
I think it's 18 because they added Missouri and A&M a couple years ago. I think that made it 16.
I think you're right. I think Texas and Oklahoma might make it 18.
Because what was the SEC East before that? It was Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, and Kentucky. Yeah. So then now it's
good for you.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you.
You asked me, what was the SEC? I'm like, what do you think it was?
Like Fordham? I don't know. The scheduling is now going to be a nightmare, in my opinion, because we're old school guys. I like when Michigan goes to Northwestern and Ohio State goes to Iowa. You're not going to see that. You might see that once or twice every decade now.
I mean, we've been talking about this for a few weeks now. This probably works great for me and you, other than your Michigan fandom. But even for you as a Michigan fan, you're still at the top of the Big Ten, okay? The rest of the Big Ten, the Rutgers, Maryland, I mean, I can go down the list. Rutgers, Maryland, Iowa,
Northwestern,
even,
Purdue.
Certainly Northwestern, Purdue, even Wisconsin to a degree, depending on who their coach is and how things are going. Like
Nebraska has it. They're trying to get out of the basement. Now you throw this at them, dude. Jesus Christ.
The best thing they could do is go back to the Big 12. We've been saying this for 2 years now. They don't belong there, and they're going to get lost. This is how you know it's just money. You're not looking to be competitive in anything. Your basketball team sucks. Your baseball team sucks. Your football team sucks. Like, what are you good at? What are you actually competing at? You're the new, you're Rutgers. I mean, frankly, Rutgers football might be better than Nebraska football right now. So that's apropos, which is crazy. But for us, looking for marquee games week in and week out, I mean, it's good for the I don't even want to say the casual viewer. I'll say the casual fan, that doesn't have necessarily a rooting interest. you're going to get a good game every week. You're never going to be left out of that. You know what I'm saying? So, and you've mentioned, with the money that Oregon has, the Nike money that they have, they're going to compete, and they'll probably be able to recruit on a bigger stage now that they'll be with the Big Ten, because there'll be more interest from kids in the area.
Right.
With that said, was it you that sent me the tweet, or I sent it to you about the travel?
Yeah.
Oh my God! Well, to say what that was. If Rutgers were to play Oregon, right?
I texted to you, right? I didn't message it to you.
I don't remember, but it was basically if Oregon were to go play Rutgers, it's a half hour less of a trip than it would be for Boston College to play in London.
Yes.
This is like insanity, dude.
Yep.
It's insanity. And it's going to get even more insane in about 5 minutes when we start talking about a couple other potentially soon-to-be former Pac-10 teams. So, yeah, that's the only problem I have. We've talked about some of the lesser sports. Is this what's going to happen with baseball? Like, baseball plays every day. Are these kids going to be traveling across the country? What about women's basketball, men's basketball? Are these guys just going to be globetrotters? They're just traveling all over the country, week in, week out?
So I did. I heard somewhere along the line that they might do. All right, Rutgers goes to UCLA. They put crew, tennis, softball, and something else on a plane. They all play them at the same time. Okay, I get it, but like,
that's what you got to do. Now you got to coordinate. These people can't even figure out what the fuck NIL is supposed to be and how to do a transfer portal. But they're going to do this kind of scheduling on a grand scale like that?
Right.
Get the hell out of here, man.
Dude, I have no faith
somebody somewhere along the way is getting majorly screwed. They are.
Yeah.
It's all for money, man. It's all about money.
Question for you, is the Big Ten done?
Well, no. We know that they do have interest in Florida State and Clemson. I just don't know if they'll be able to pull that off. I think if those two teams are looking to leave, they'd probably be more interested in the SEC. Although I just think they'd probably be more interested in the SEC. Big 12, I don't know that they can offer enough money. So I think they'd be more interested in geographically staying with the SEC if they do leave the ACC, which I think is very possible because everybody's doing it. I don't know if there's any other teams that make sense. Could they pull a West Virginia? Do they want to? West Virginia seems to me more of a Big Ten team than they are a Big 12 team. They never felt right for the Big 12. It never made sense to me. So I don't know.
Felt right? The Big East. That's where they felt right.
You're right. They should be in the ACC, and it'd probably be a better conference. And they'd probably be a better team. So, I don't know. It's tough to say. Would you be interested, if you're the Big Ten, would you be interested in maybe pulling a team like Cincinnati? I don't know. Would that interest you?
I don't think that.
Probably not, right?
That's not a fire alarm kind of school. I don't know. Like that's.
Well, neither was Maryland, and they pulled them in, and neither is Rutgers.
Well, they wanted Rutgers because they thought they were going to get Tri-State money,
right.
And Tri-State viewers were that there's not that many college fans like it is down south there in the Big Ten. So
I throw that out there just to say I don't know. It's tough to say. We mentioned Syracuse last week. If the ACC, if there's a fire sale going on in the ACC, I think Syracuse would be a great fit in the Big Ten. So who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's all about the cash. Can the ACC swing a deal with ESPN, because I think that's who their main ESPN, ABC, Disney kind of thing. I think that's who gives them their money right now. Can they work out a new deal to keep these teams? I honestly don't know. I don't know who.
It's crazy.
Big Ten. Who's Big Ten who's their deal with that? They're getting all this.
They got Fox, NBC, and CBS now.
All three of them. Jesus Christ.
Yep. And now they got that guy.
And SEC is like ESPN is what, ABC and CBS?
It was CBS and ESPN. They didn't play many games on ABC. That was Big Ten.
Oh no, you're right.
That was Big 10, Big 12.
CBS and ESPN.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they got the SEC network and all that stuff. But yeah, because they'd go ESPN2, ESPNU. Yeah, they had a lot of those games. Yeah. That takes us to Cal Stanford.
This is crazy to me, man. It becomes bonkers.
This is where, like, I have right now, it's a joke. This is where this is like, you're kidding me. Like, we wake up from a coma, and you're telling me UCLA, USC, Oregon, and Washington are in the Big Ten, Texas, Oklahoma in the SEC, West Virginia in the Big 12, and now they're talking about Stanford and Cal to the ACC?
Hey, but before you go any further, can you let everybody know what the A and the C stand for?
Atlantic Coast Conference.
And where's the Atlantic Ocean?
That would be on the eastern seaboard.
Okay. you know what? I was concerned that maybe I was mistaken. And if I'm wrong, aren't Stanford and Cal in California?
Yeah.
And that is
on what ocean's
the Pacific
next to them?
Ocean, correct? Yeah. Okay.
They're closer to the Indian Ocean than the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, they should play in the Chinese Football League. It'd be an easier commute.
Oh my God.
Like, holy shit, dude.
Yeah, it's bad, dude. It's.
I think it's actually going to happen.
I heard something insane, too, where Notre Dame might welcome that to join the conference if Stanford go. I don't like. What ACC? Are we doing? Yeah.
It's just crazy. So now you'll have Colorado, BYU, and Arizona and Utah joining the Big 12.
And right? UCF.
UCF
Imagine
is joining the Big 12?
BYU to UCF on a Saturday at noon.
That'd be a fun game to watch, but are they really content? Like, it's just crazy.
Dude, I mean, it's fun to watch now, but if you get those years where they were like 3-9, like,
of course.
What the fuck, man?
No, it's crazy. It's insanity. It's insanity.
Two questions for you. One,
and you make a point too, like traveling. When you were talking about Las Vegas, the Raiders, and how like Giants fans will go to Vegas. Sure, because it's friggin' Vegas.
Yeah.
If you're I don't know, if you're a Miami Hurricanes fan, are you going to Stanford? Are you traveling to a Cal game? Or if the game was against Alabama, are you traveling?
Right.
You know, it's just, come on.
Or even Big 12, like if you're like Texas Tech, you're gonna go to Provo?
Right. It's just a bit much. It's all a bit much. And that's what I'm saying. They're not thinking about the student athlete. They're not thinking about families. They're not thinking about geographical rivalries. It's 100% decision being made on money. And that's so sad to me. That's so sad. You're not thinking about competitiveness. It's just about money. How do we get the most money?
You make a great point about rivalries that aren't like necessarily like division rivalries, like, or even like they did back in the day. Pitt, West Virginia, backyard brawl. We love to watch that game. A&M, Texas, and Nebraska, Colorado, the Friday after Thanksgiving, back-to-back was tremendous. And then the Egg Bowl at night, Mississippi State.
Right.
Those games get like lost now, dude. Like watch like Colorado and Nebraska weren't even in the like. They've been like 3 conferences since those games were played. Colorado went back and forth. Notre Dame. This is my one question to you. They're gonna have a hard time making a schedule soon, dude. Because if they try to get Michigan back on their schedule as a rival, they're gonna go, dude. We got to play at Oregon, USC home, at Penn State, Wisconsin home, at Washington, and Ohio State home. I'm not playing Notre Dame.
Well, it's not just that. I think what's being talked about with these mega conferences, especially, is that you're going to have to play one more conference game. So to your point, like if I
you're going to have to, dude.
If I have one more conference game, I ain't fucking. How's Notre Dame going to fill out a schedule?
That's what I'm saying.
You're not playing USC. Cal's going to be. I mean, Stanford now in the ACC. Maybe you still get them. Like, who are you playing?
You're gonna play all 3 military schools, Boston College.
Oh, that'll put you in the top 25.
Yeah, they'll go 11-1 in the top, and then they'll get fucking blown up by 40.
Purdue. How's Purdue gonna even pull that off? You got 2 games to work with. Yeah, well, you got like 10 conference games and two.
Well, they might be looking for a payday at that point. The way they're going to be
that might
be
it. But see, but again, if you're Notre Dame, is that what you're settling on? It's Purdue.
Well, listen, if you don't join a conference, that's the fucking price you're going to have to pay. You're going to have to pick your poison, dude. This
is what I'm saying. So they might get handcuffed and have no choice at some point because you can't get real games. I mean, it's a real thing. Are they going to So you know that Big Ten deal with USC and UCLA when they came. Did USC say, like, is it somewhere in there that they'll keep playing Notre Dame?
That's a good question. I think someone asked that question. I don't know the answer to it.
And to your point, if you're USC and you're playing 10 Big Ten games, do you really want to put Notre Dame on your schedule, or do you want to put like Boise State or
Fresno,
Hawaii or something like Fresno? Like, come on! I mean, they could get locked out, so then they might have no choice but to join a conference.
Real serious question here, and this is a real concern now. All these other people that play volleyball, run track, we've been making the joke about crew. Will other sports survive? Like what is?
Well, so listen. The fact of the matter is that football pays for everything already. Like, before these moves were being done, football pays for everything. The problem, so when we say this is all based on money, it's not like USC and UCLA and the new they're the only ones getting the money. Like, the worst team in the whoever comes in last, they get the same amount of money, the TV money and whatever, however that works, the proceeds. They get the same amount as USC and UCLA. So as far as TV money, the difference is you might start to lose local revenue, because if you're so you're Northwestern or you're Notre Dame. Think of like Vanderbilt. When Vanderbilt, now Kentucky's been better over the last year, but I'm just using them as an example. Like, I remember when Jay Cutler was at Vanderbilt and they played Kentucky one Saturday. It was a noon start on ESPN. There might have been 14 people in the stands. So now you get no, I'm going to use this term, but I don't even know if they sell beer. Like, you get no beer revenue, you get no peanuts, you get hot dogs. You're getting none of that shit.
Yeah, concessions.
Concessions, right. You still get the TV money because that's split equally between all the schools.
Yeah.
But you don't get all the other stuff, and you don't get the exposure. And you look like a scrub unit, and you look even worse now than you did before because there's even more good teams in the conference. So that's where they start to get squeezed out. That's money. Concession money is yours. That's not shared. That's just yours. And now you're significantly behind the eight ball of the Alabamas and the Floridas and the Auburns, because they sell out every week because they're real programs and you are not. So it's always going to hurt the bottom half of these conferences. And those teams, you're really talking about the possibility that they'll never see the light of day as far as like becoming winning programs. Like, it just may be impossible. Now, what's funny is, we bring up Colin Cowherd and some of these other guys, and they'll look at us and say, well, but for the fan, you'll have these great games. Like I said earlier, and it'll adjust. And in the end, we'll really have the top 20 teams will still be the top 20 teams that they are now, which is probably more or less true. Yeah. But you're only looking at it from the top of the heap. And It's more than that. See, nobody says that when we think about the NFL. We look for parity. That's why we have a salary cap, right? So each team can only spend X. Every team can only spend X amount of dollars.
Yeah. In 3 years, that's where NIL is going to be.
Yeah, so that you just can't outspend Green Bay or Kansas City, right? Like, everybody can spend the same amount and you share the revenue. That's not the case in college football. So, that's where you're going to see. If you're a Rutgers fan, you're screwed. If you graduated from Vanderbilt or Northwestern, you're screwed. Like, you're never going to see a winning season. It's never going to happen. And then what starts to happen is you lose recruits. Whatever recruits you were getting, you're not going to get.
Any good coaches that were there?
Dude, that was the next words were literally out of my mouth, is that you're not going to get any kind of quality coaches. And you're just going to have to hope for magic. You're going to have to hope that you just happen to stumble on a young, great, brilliant coach who was just looking for a chance, even though he knows he's going to get murdered. Would you rather be the offensive coordinator of, say, Mississippi under Lane Kiffin, or the head coach of Vanderbilt, of a team that's has had 2 wins the last 6 years?
That's a no-brainer.
That's what you're going to be looking at 3, 4, 5 years from now. We mentioned Northwestern with Fitzgerald getting canned.
Axed.
Who's taking that job now?
Nobody, sir.
When you're going to throw USC, UCLA, Washington, and Oregon now in there, who's taking that job? Nobody of any quality. You just fired the best thing you had for the last 15 years. Okay. I guess you just don't care. You just take the TV money and you'll have your broadcasting college. That's it. I mean, what are you going to do?
Yep.
But that's what we're going to be looking at.
Well, stay tuned, because next week we could have more information on this stupid thing.
I'm sure this is just beginning, man. Because now it's like a mad race, right? the schools that are left, your Notre Dame's. So what? It'd be like Notre Dame, Florida State, Clemson. I could see Miami being in these conversations.
North Carolina?
I don't know if they're big enough.
Because basketball doesn't have enough gravitas as football does. So,
yeah, I'm trying to think who else is out there. I guess there's like those 4 teams, maybe a Syracuse.
Pitt?
I don't know that they'd be clamoring, but Pitt might want to make a move. And I don't think the Big Ten would say no to Pitt. That's a good name that you bring up.
Yeah,
they fit perfectly in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And they might even be able to compete a little in the Big Ten. I'm not so sure. But see, then again, I got
to tell you, they're right now. They're better than Nebraska, Rutgers,
Illinois. That's what I'm saying. If you're Iowa, Nebraska, Northwestern, do you want to see Pitt come in your conference? No.
Yeah, no.
No, it's awful. It keeps getting worse. So that's what sucks. That's what sucks about it. I think about those things. You and I think about those things. The guys, the talking heads on TV, and the guys that make these decisions, they don't give 2 shits.
No, they do not.
This is about the money. President of college doesn't care. His salary goes up. What the fuck does he care?
Peter, are you ready?
That's just the truth.
Are you ready to redeem yourself?
Well, I've been thinking about this all week, man. I'm not going to talk this through anymore. I'm gonna just in my head because.
Oh, that makes for a good podcast.
I think I make a bigger ass of myself by talking it through.
Oh, dude, I've got more calls and texts on this. People just loving it.
Dude, I just started sweating. Oh my God, I don't want to do trivia.
Today's topic is the NFL.
All right, I got a chance.
Who has had the most wins in the 2000s? Steelers, Ravens, Packers, Colts.
In the 2000s. Steelers, Ravens, Packers, Colts. All right. So I'll talk it out loud. It's a goddamn talk show here. My initial thing was the Packers because, listen, you're going from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. Most of those years were winning years. Brett Favre. Colts, no. Who was the other ones? Steelers?
Ravens.
Ravens, tough, man. The Steelers got lean at the end of Ben Roethlisberger's last few years. I'm going to go with the Packers.
It would be the Colts.
No, you're kidding me.
So I kind of did you a disservice there. It's 2000 to 2009.
Well, then that's not the 2000s.
Well, it says 2010s and then 2020s.
Get out of here. That's misleading. I'm not taking the L.
You still want to guess Colts? You don't lie to me.
I might have.
You watched them away. No.
Was that the Peyton Manning years?
Yeah. Goodbye. You're done. No, you don't.
I might have.
Goodbye.
I might have. It's not an L. I'm not taking the L.
I'm giving you an L.
It's misleading.
How many teams have never appeared in a Super Bowl, and can you name them?
Can I name them? I'm
not going to give you all night here, so.
So, Chargers?
Wrong. They lost to the Niners in 95, so you're ready. Goodbye.
Yeah, that's what I meant. All right, so the Houston Texans.
Why don't you give me a number? Okay, Texas is one.
No, I can't. I got to think of them before I can give you a number.
All righty.
Jacksonville.
2.
Carol, no, forget that one.
Oh, that's 2. What's 1?
I did not say anything. Browns.
3.
Detroit.
4.
I want to say Vikings, but I'm not sure. I'm going to say Vikings.
Wrong.
They were in the Super Bowl?
You should stop while you're ahead.
Am I done? Is that it?
Yeah.
That's all of them?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm like, well, I didn't get that many wrong.
I can't give you a right or wrong. That's just an incomplete.
All right.
After last week, it was hard to duplicate. It was fantastic.
So the answer is 4.
The answer is 4.
You know, the funny thing is, like, you got Jacksonville and Houston. They're like expansion teams. Well,
and Jacksonville's been closer than the Browns for like.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Although the Browns were close in those Denver Broncos years.
That's true.
They probably should have.
That was 35. That was 40 years ago.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Which team has had 20 straight winning seasons?
20 straight?
20 straight winning seasons. I worded that wrong. Sorry. Cowboys, Steelers, Packers, or Patriots?
The Patriots had a losing season last season, didn't they?
Maybe.
Oh, you're not even going to help?
How can I help you?
Well, because I originally was thinking like the Steelers, but Tomlin hasn't been there for 20 years, so I don't think that's right. It's not the Cowboys. So I'm on Steelers or who else did I say?
Packers and Patriots.
I don't think it's the Packers because I think the year that Aaron Rodgers broke his collarbone, I don't think they had a winning season. So I'm down to Patriots and the Steelers. So it's Patriots, Steelers, Packers,
Cowboys.
Okay. No, I'm gonna say the Steelers.
Cowboys.
What?
Yeah.
You're telling me the Cowboys have had 20 straight winning seasons
in the 70s and 80s.
Oh, I thought. All right. Your questions this week were a little misleading. That's all.
What? What's the history of the NFL? I didn't give you a time.
Okay, I'm just kind of thinking more recently.
All right, baby.
They had 20 straight winning seasons.
Yeah, and the Patriots were close, and you got to think. I didn't do any research on the other teams, but you got to think the Steelers are close too, because Tomlin's had what? They say Tomlin's never had a losing season.
He's never had a losing season, but listen, he had to replace.
It's been 15 years, right? Yeah.
Yeah, when he replaced Cowher. When was that?
Cowher was bad the last 2 years, right?
Was it bad?
I think like 06.
With Roethlisberger there?
Remember he missed the first 4 games and whatever, like he was suspended, or the motorcycle accident and shit?
Yeah. And the Patriots, did they have a losing season last year?
Yeah.
They did. Would that have been 20?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. All right. Well, at least I was kind of like on the right track.
No, you were there. That's why I'm.
This was a little tougher. This was a little tougher. Because he took me off of like.
Well, these questions are getting they're getting a little thin now, so I can't give you easy.
Oh, come on, put the work in. Come on, put the work in.
It was like one question was like who has the nickname Steel Curtain? I'm like, oh, that's fucking retarded. I'm not doing it.
You could throw me a bone every once in a while, like
all right.
Throw in
yeah, but that's like Peter.
It's not fucking Jeopardy. Holy shit. Always good stuff, man. Always good stuff. Everybody looks forward to it. I do, but I got to be honest with you. I really did. When you said, "Are you ready? It's time," and I'm like, "Oh shit!" I started beating up on my forehead. I'm like, "No, I don't want to be wrong again, man." I was like semi-right today. I was like sort of, kind of right, but not up to par. But great job as always, man.
Thank you, sir.
Of the show. For Scott Bracey, I'm Pete Colasano. You've been listening to Bump and Run, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Later.
20 years. That's a long time. Think of this, dude. Put this in some perspective. I could have said this while we're still going, but the Jets haven't made the playoffs in 13 years, and that's insane. The Cowboys won 20, had winning seasons for 20 straight years.
20 straight years.
Man, that's crazy. Yeah, I got caught up in thinking like recent. Like maybe I was stuck in the 2000s from the previous question.
Maybe.
That's why I was thinking like that. I didn't go back in time. That's interesting, though.
Next week, Wednesday, you got something Wednesday?
I have the air show next Wednesday.
That is Wednesday? All right. I'm no good Thursday.
You want to try for Friday?
I got a Yankee game Friday. I can do it.
I mean, we're talking.
I sneak it in an hour 15.
It's been like an hour and change, like real right around an hour.
Yeah. Maybe we'll hit the AFC East.
We can keep it kind of short. We won't add too many of the ancillary stuff.
Yeah, we'll keep AFC East. If there's something breaking, we'll hit it. All right.
What time would you want to do that on Friday?
I would say 1:30 would probably be ideal.
We could do that.
If we can do that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you know what? That might work. That might, because
we'll keep it relatively short.
Okay, that might work.
You know, if there's any big stories, we'll talk about them. Other than that,
and then we'll run right through it. All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, this was an hour.
Yeah,
even like a couple minutes over.
Yeah, and then we did 22 minutes of like just breaking news, so we skipped that out, whatever.
Yeah, I mean there's rarely that many stories to talk about.
Yeah.
So.
All right, cool. All right, yeah. Let's
we'll
pencil that in for now, and then if we got to adjust.
Friday 1:30.
Okay.
Cool. You got it, man.
Thanks, pal.
I'll talk to you later.
All right, buddy. Later.
Bye.